Hey guys, this is part 2 of our video on solving by taking roots. So in the previous video, we looked at how to simplify radicals and how to rationalize the denominator. Hopefully that was a review, but if not, we can definitely do some more of those to practice. We also solved a simple quadratic equation by using our skill of solving by taking roots. Let's take a look at some more complicated examples. Let's solve for y minus 2 squared equals 108. So the first thing that we want to do is isolate the squared expression. In this case, our squared expression is actually in parentheses. That's what we need to isolate. So we need to get rid of that 4 that's on the outside of the parentheses. To do that, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4, those cancel, and 108 divided by 4 is 27. Step 2 is to apply the square root property. That means we've got to take the square root of both sides. I've said this repeatedly, but don't forget that a square root undoes a squared exponent, so these will cancel. And what we're left with is y minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 27. All right, we still don't have y by itself, so let's go ahead and solve for y by adding 2 to both sides. We're going to simplify the square root of 27 if we can as well. So to simplify square root, don't forget to simplify a radical, we do the prime factorization. So we're ending up with the square root of 9 and the square root of 3. And the square root of 9 we can simplify a little bit more here. So this simplifies to the square root, or 3 times the square root of 3. And then we've added that 2 to both sides as well. So we end up with y equals 2 plus or minus 3 times the square root of 3. Now, if we needed an exact number, we could then plug that into our calculator if we needed a decimal approximation. If we don't need a decimal approximation, we can stop right here. Right, our solution set with a decimal approximation would be x would be equal to negative 3.20. I'm sorry. Our y would be one of two values since we have plus or minus. Our y would either be negative 3.20 or positive 7.20 if we needed a decimal approximation. Now, solving x squared plus 1 equals 0 by taking roots produces the following result. We end up with x squared equals negative 1. Well, if we think about squared numbers, there's not any squared number that will give us a negative result. If we take negative 1 times negative 1, for example, our answer is positive 1, always. So how do we square something and get a negative number? Well, we don't. What we end up with is x equals plus or minus the square root of negative 1, and that negative number, taking the square root of negative number, produces something called imaginary numbers or imaginary units. The imaginary unit, which we're going to write with an I, is the square root of negative 1. So I equals square root of negative 1, and I squared would be negative 1. So whenever we're taking the square root of a negative number, we're going to have to use this notation here to indicate that it's an imaginary unit. When expressing square roots in terms of I, let's take a look at this example. We have the square root of negative 9. We can separate that into two separate square roots, two factors. We've got the square root of 9 and the square root of negative 1. We can take the square root of 9, we know that's 3, and we've just stated that the square root of negative 1 is notated with an I, and so what we're left with is 3i. All right, try the square root of negative 12 on your own. Pause the video, come back and check your work. So the first step is to factor the radicand into its prime factors, and we end up with negative 1, 2 squared, and 3. We can separate each of these into their own little radicals here. And we get the square root of negative 1 is I. The square root of 2 squared is 2. And the square root of 3 cannot be simplified without a calculator. Then, just like before, we multiply anything outside the radical and anything that's inside the radical. So we're left with 2 times I, or 2i, times the square root of 3. We can also read that as 2i root 3. All right, here's our rule regarding imaginary numbers. and x squared. If x squared equals k, and k, our number there, is greater than 0, then x has two real solutions. X equals plus or minus square root of k. Again, we saw that with our very first example in the first part. If x squared equals 81, and 81 is greater than 0, then x has two solutions. In this case, x is equal to plus or minus 9. If k equals 0, then x has one real solution. X equals 0. Okay, if x squared equals 0, for example, then x is also equal to 0. And if k is less than 0, then x has two complex solutions. Any numbers that involve imaginary numbers are called complex numbers. So x would equal plus or minus I times the square root of k. And we saw that when we did x squared equals, for example, the square root of negative 9, x would equal I times the square root of 9, which in this case, x would equal plus or minus 3i. Plus or minus 3i. And the use of the I makes this a complex number. Complex number. All right, let's take a look at this example. Solve z squared plus 45 equals 0. The first thing we want to do is isolate the squared term, which gives us z squared equals negative 45. Then we want to apply the square root property and take the square root of both sides. Z equals plus or minus the square root of negative 45. We want to simplify this expression by prime factorization, and because we have a negative number here, we also know we're going to have to use that I. So we've got the square root of I, or plus or minus I times the square root of 45, and now let's factor our 45. This is also, 45 is the same thing as the square root of 9 and the square root of 5. The square root of 9 can be simplified even more, so let's bring that out. Square root of 9 is just 3. So we're left with plus or minus 3 times I times the square root of 5, or 3i root 5. All right, let's try a second one. See if you can do this one on your own. Pause the video and come back and check your work. All right, the first thing we want to do is isolate the squared term here. So we're going to move that 10. Remove that 10 here, and if we remove 10 on the left, we've got to remove 10 on the right. And then we still need to get rid of that 2, so we're also going to divide both sides by 2. And so now we have our our squared expression is now isolated. Let's go ahead and apply the square root property by taking the square root of both sides. I get w plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of negative 4. We've got a negative radicand here, so we know we're going to have to pull out an imaginary number. So let's rewrite that as plus or minus I times the square root of 4. And then let's go ahead and simplify. Plus or minus I times the square root of 4 is the same thing as plus or minus 2i. We still don't have the variable isolated, so let's subtract 3 here. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So our final answer will be w equals negative 3 plus or minus 2i. All right, today we solved quadratic equations by taking roots. We simplified radicals, whether that was through prime factorization or rationalizing the denominator. And we also simplified radicals and expressions involving those with negative radicands. Don't forget that a negative radicand means we're going to have to use I as imaginary number, and any number that has an I as part of it is called a complex number. And we'll get into complex numbers in the next lesson. If you guys have any questions, be sure to write those down and we'll talk about them next class.